Колеги, ми продовжуємо.
We continue our working day, and now I give the floor to Presidential Administration spokesman on ATO-related issues, Andriy Lysenko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. And now, information on events in the ATO area during the last 24 hours. First, the situation at the front line deteriorated. The enemy carried out 81 shelling of Ukrainian positions, and this is a record number since the end of August 2015. At that, the enemy used heavy weapons 12 times. Ceasefire continues only in Lugansk area. During the last 24 hours, there were no shelling observed that was carried out by illegal military formations. And in the Donetsk area, active military actions continue along the front line, and the most difficult situation is in Zaitsevo and Mayorsk. And yesterday, more than 160 mortar mines were launched at our positions. The enemy uses small arms and grenade launchers both during the day and at night. This activity of the enemy proves that the decision to close Zaitsevo checkpoint was right. The situation is tense in the Donetsk airport and in the Svetlodarsk Bulge. Despite provocations, the line is stable, and the enemy has no chance to advance. In Mariupol area, the situation is tense. In Mariinka, the enemy opened fire at our positions with grenade launchers near Trudivsky village. A local resident was heavily wounded there. In the line between Gnutovo and Talakivka, the enemy carried out 3 mortar shellings of our positions, and Ukrainian border guards, with the help of infrared imager, found a subverters group consisting of 5 people who tried to penetrate our positions near Peshivik village. And due to cooperation between a state border guard service and servicemen of military service of Ukraine, the subverters were forced to retreat to the east, taking some wounded militants with them. And in the result of military actions during the last 24 hours, 1 Ukrainian serviceman was killed and 3 were wounded. SBU continues to detain the militants and their accomplices. In Kramatorsk, the police officers detained a man who took part in establishing of a checkpoint near Karachun mountain, and after the first battle he fled and stayed at home, hiding the fact that he took part in illegal armed formations. But he didn't succeed in this, and now he will be prosecuted and will be sent to prison. And at one of the checkpoints near Artyomovsk, National Guardsmen detained a resident who served at DPR checkpoint.
According to the detainee, he was released from Gorlivka Correctional Facility. In the course of interrogation, the citizen confessed that he worked for the militants and was a guard on the hostile checkposts. The detainee was transferred to the Security Service of Ukraine. At the motor vehicle crossing point of Novoardan, the Security Service of Ukraine detained a person who had digital photos of our combat positions, checkpoints of the armed forces of Ukraine. and the crossing point. According to the preliminary information, the perpetrator had intentions to transfer the photos to the enemy. The training continues in the Ukrainian armed forces. The scheduled practical training at Kharkiv University of Air Forces after Ivan Kazhedub started to retrain to navigate combat aircraft. The student pilots passed integral training using MiG-29 simulators. Aircraft flying train at An-26 and Mi-8 helicopters were passed by Ukrainian crews of transport aviation. Pilots, technicians, and support unit servicemen were trained at a high standard level. At the Yavari firing ground, the military men demonstrated how they conduct protection against mass destruction weaponry, how they move on the field of combats, and how they organize anti-tank struggle, and so on. Yesterday, the President of Ukraine signed a decree to award with state decorations of 44 military men of the armed forces of Ukraine. 16 soldiers were awarded post-mortem. 6 military men were granted Bogdan Khmelnytsky orders of third rank. 27 servicemen were awarded for courage orders, and 18 soldiers were granted medals to the defender of motherland. At Mariinka, motor vehicle crossing point 9 lorries was loaded with humanitarian assistance to the civilians on occupied territories crossed. The question. One man died in the mortar shelling in Zaitsev, and 2 men were wounded in mortar shelling in Mayorsk and 1 in Mariinka. Are there any more questions? There are no questions and comments. Thank you, Mr. Lysenko. That's the end of the press briefing. Our next briefing at 1 o'clock sharp.